I suppose I could completely screw with Twitch and Kick and try to connect them through Rumble again and see what happens. But last time it was a degraded signal, so I am going to have to ask a relevant question of my favorite AI. All right, so let's see. In OBS, watch the bottom section of live confirmation of each output. So where do I find the live confirmations? All right, so how do I see? How do I see the live confirmations? I have the Altium plugin. La dee 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 dee. I'm only going to goof around with this for about a minute, and if I really can't, yeah, okay. Check the similarly named dragon position dock anywhere. All of your configured outputs, status indicator, offline connecting, live reconnecting error. Each platform usually shows a status indicator. Okay, I'm not seeing status indicators. Okay, so, often icons change colors, green for live, etc. Fine. Well, let's see what color the icons are. The icons are not terribly green, so let's see. Oh, you know what I could do is this. All right, now, I'm totally cheating. There we go. I just did a screenshot so I can show it to my favorite AI. Hopefully that'll come through. Yep, okay, so. Let me double check X, make sure I'm not lying. I just said I see myself live on X, and I want to make sure I'm not lying. Yeah, I see myself live on X. And it says Grouchian fixes a few wagons. By the way, that would be the other way to find me live if you happen to be somewhere else right now. My first choice for people to watch would be Rumble, of course. I think Rumble's cool, but I am happy to have people watch me wherever it is they happen to find me, which is fine. I just, let's see. So I said that, and let's go ahead and, yeah, I just double checked to make sure I see myself live on the X machine, which I do. Yeah, I'm good on the OBS side. Okay, great. So let's see if it's picked up. I haven't checked in a couple seconds, so let's see if it's picked up yet on Kick. No. On Twitch? No. Oh, for F's sake. Oh my God. Okay. This is just annoying. I don't have any videos yet on here, and I don't know what's going on that I cannot get Twitch to kick online here. I might just have to do like separate stream just to those two things. But you know what? I'm not even going to worry about Twitch and Kick at the moment. I'm here. I seem to have Rumble going, and eventually I'm just going to have to take an hour and just do that. But at any rate, I called this one Groucho Fixes a Few Wagons. And the first wagon I'm going to fix is this guy's. Oh, wrong screen. Sorry. I thought I was being cool, and I wasn't. I thought I was being cool, and I wasn't at all. Not even close to being cool. Yeah, here's the first wagon I'm gonna fix. This guy. First off, I'm really trying to not be judgmental, but You can just tell from this guy's eyes, you know, you can just tell. Now, according to biology, this guy is entirely incorrect, and we're going to talk about this. But first, let's have a listen.
Sperm is made between the ribs and the spine.
No, it isn't.
This is in the Quran, and Muslims believe it.
No, they don't. Not all of them. Many do, but not all of them believe this. Well, let's go ahead and hear him out, and then I'll have my say.
No matter what the science says.
It doesn't matter what the science says. Wow. Okay, this is even worse than the Christians trying to figure out the first few books of the Old Testament, or the Torah, the Pentateuch, the 5 books of Moses, and doing bad math and coming up with the Earth being 6,000 years old. This is worse than that, because this is so obviously not true. This is so obviously scientifically completely inaccurate. And he is asking you to accept an absolutely provable falsehood. This is no different than what gender ideology asks of you.
Muslim, this is not a contradiction. For Muslim, this is belief.
It's not a contradiction, it's belief. Okay, so when we talk about beliefs, these would be things, you know, like things that are in the matter of belief, or things that are not provable one way or the other using the brains God gave us, and the common sense God gave us, and the ability to communicate 2 ways, and to understand our world, and to understand that God exists, because even atheists understand the concept of God. They may deny it, but they understand it. Okay, so we have all of this, all right? And the idea that, oh, well, you should believe something that's patently not true. You know, once you get people to start believing things that are patently not true, for example, men can become women, or, oh yeah, you know, jizz is made somewhere in your chest. It's between the backbone and the rib cage. As soon as you get people to believe things that are so obviously not true, once you gaslight them on that, not gas them up, gaslight, those are 2 different things. Basically, you can get them to believe anything. And the same thing is true the other way around, that once a politician, or in this case, a Muslim who fancies himself to be an expert on the Quran — I don't think he is. I mean, he's obviously missing the point here, and I'll get to that in a second. Once you get someone to you know, I mean, the flip side is that the people who ask you to believe something that is so clearly, obviously not true, once they're willing to lie that a man can become a woman, or that the male seed is produced somewhere in your ribcage area. Yeah, I can't speak for anyone else, but, you know, my testicles are not located somewhere between my lungs and my stomach. That's simply not true. I know where my testicles are. I saw them just a few minutes ago. I wasn't looking that closely. They're just testicles. I mean, you know, I've had them for a few years here. I mean, you know, since I was born, I've had them anyway. That's a few years. So this guy, all right, I don't even know his name. I don't even care. But, you know, we're gonna wrap him up a bit here. Let's see. Let's keep going with him.
Science says sperm is made elsewhere.
Elsewhere. Gee, I wonder where. Maybe somewhere conveniently located to the tube that ejects the sperm, you know, because that would be more efficient. Maybe somewhere where the 2 orbs that produce the sperm are hanging outside the body because their temperature needs are different than your internal organs. This guy's such a dummy.
And Quran tells us it's made between the rib and the spine.
No. And I'll get to that in just a second. Let's finish listening to him.
It is made between the rib and the spine.
No, it's not, Usman. Usman. And by the way, please change your name because you are not U.S. man. Seriously, that is not you. No, you are not U.S. man. You are something else entirely. I can tell by your accent in particular. And you're spouting weird falsehoods.
If we see with our eyes something to be in a certain way, and Quran tells us it's not this way.
He's literally telling you not to believe the truth that is right in front of you that you can see with your eyes. This guy is a serious gaslighter.
We will say it is the way Quran says.
Oh, it is the way Quran says. No, it's the way you think Quran says. I'll get to that.
It is. That is belief. That is Islam.
No. Islam literally means submission to the will of God. So if you think about it, this is something that every major faith asks of its believers, submission to the will of God. All right, let's get to this guy now. Let's get to this. The relevant, and I'm going to go ahead and bring this up on the screen so I can quote it exactly, okay? I had Grok bring this up for me. Where he gets this is from, and let's make sure this is the right spot on the screen for you guys. Okay, you can see it. I'm going to move it over a little bit here. He gets this from the Surah At-Tariq, the Nightcomer / the Morning Star. The Quran, chapter 86, and there are 17 verses here. This is the Sahih International Translation, so let's just go with this. And when we read this, remember this kind of reads literally, and Arabic English tends to be a fairly direct language in many respects, and Arabic tends to be a bit more poetic. So keep that in mind as we go through here. I think I'm going to go ahead and read the entire chapter so that way we at least have full context. By the sky and the night comer. And what can make you know what is the night comer? It is the piercing star. There is no soul, but that it has over it a protector. So let man observe from what he was created. He was created from a fluid, ejected, emerging from between the backbone and the ribs. Indeed, he is able to return him to life, on the day when secrets will be put on trial. Then man will have no power or any helper. By the sky which returns, rain, now it has here in parentheses rain, and by the earth which cracks open. Indeed, the Quran is a decisive statement, and it is not amusement. Indeed, they are planning a plan, but I am planning a plan. So allow time for the disbelievers. Leave them a while. By the sky and the night comer. I tend to think that these holy books can work together, and this might be slightly off from the whole where the sperm comes from thing. But it is interesting that this verse might actually be a callback to but the day of the Lord shall come as a thief in the night. I tend to like to link these things together. I like to see these links, and maybe you don't, but I think this is a possibility, and I'll explain as we go down here. And what can make you know what is the night comer? So if the night comer is the thief in the night, and the thief in the night is the day of the Lord, which is referring at least indirectly to the return of Christ. Let's keep going here. It is a piercing star. Well, that's interesting, because that also harkens back to the Bible and the North Star that the three magi used in order to find their way to Bethlehem to the birth of Jesus. And we know that that signs in the sky have been referred to in other revelations. There is no soul but that it has over it a protector. So now we shift from referencing the return of Christ to referencing the idea that that we all have protectors, and the protector, now here it's a lowercase, but this protector could be the Almighty, or it could be souls the Almighty sends in some spiritual way that is well beyond my understanding. Okay, and that's kind of veers into speculation a little bit, so let's go. So let man observe from what he was created. Okay. There are so many different stories in different places from about what man was created. So in the Bible, it's the scooping up of the dust and the clay, and humans are molded from clay. And here we go to, he was created from a fluid ejected. Now, because we have here the words fluid and ejected, some folks go straight to the idea that this must be a reference to sperm. And that's not necessarily the case. A fluid doesn't have to be sperm. A fluid can be, well, anything. I mean, pretty much every element has a liquid state, depending on the temperature it comes to. You can liquefy oxygen. You can liquefy hydrogen. Oxygen and hydrogen are essentially the stuff of life, especially together, because they make water. And that is the stuff of life, and water is symbolically associated with life in more than one religious tradition. Now, and then we get from here, emerging from between the backbone and the ribs. Interesting. There are so many ways of looking at that. Because the fluid, first off, what is this fluid ejected from? There is no indication whatever of what it is. And emerging from between the backbone and the ribs, so this is essentially a reference to the human body. It doesn't even say male or female, it just says human. And what is between the backbone and the ribs? The heart. And the heart has been traditionally the place where you invite God in, right? You invite God into your heart. So if we're talking about it this way, then we're talking about God. We're talking about the Spirit. We're talking about that thing that we can't describe because we don't have the words to describe it, because God is without limits and we have limits. And then the next one here, and so that's where I'm kind of going with this, and I'm going to touch on a couple of other things related to this in a minute, but let's keep going here. Indeed, he is able to return him to life on the day when secrets will be put on trial. This sounds like allegorical stuff, allegorical language, referring, again, we're coming back to the theme of the second coming. We're coming back to the theme of the return of Christ. And this is something that that Muslims are, they have different types of prophecies, but they do link, some Muslims do link their prophecies to the Christian prophecies about the end times. So, on the day when secrets will be put on trial. Well, if secrets are put on trial, that means they're not secrets anymore. Because to put on trial means to be exposed to the public. And so the things that are secret will be made known. And we're also talking about returning to life, and there are various ways of interpreting that. Then man will have no power or any helper. By the sky which returns, and by the earth which cracks open, indeed, okay. So these, now, being as I'm not the total Quran expert, by the sky which returns and the earth which cracks open. Now, when you talk about rain, in some religious writings, the revelation of God is referred to as a copious rain. This is definitely true in the Baha'i faith. So I'm going to go with this also being a reference to when I say return of God, I'm talking about the return of God's messenger. I'm sorry, I misspoke. or God sending a fresh messenger, or more specifically to these prophecies, the return of Christ, the promised Hussein, so on. And again, what's interesting is here in verse 1, we have the reference to the night comer, which is the thief, which I related to the thief in the night. And how does the rest of that verse go? But the day of the Lord shall come as a thief in the night. And you know what? I forget. So I really should just cheat. I'm going to totally cheat. I'm going to super grok and I'm gonna have that verse come up for me right now. Okay, so I need the NT verse that starts because I want to quote it. I want to quote it accurately. But the day of the Lord shall come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise. That could be an earthquake. And the elements shall melt with fervent heat. That could be an earthquake caused by a volcano. And the earth and also all the works that are therein shall be burned up. Now, all of this can, of course, be taken symbolically as well. And I would probably take most of this symbolically, personally. So, the day the earth cracks open. Indeed, the Quran is a decisive statement, and it is not amusement. Here's an interesting side question. Why does this people require that that God reminds them that the Quran is not an amusement? Oh, I know why. Because guys like this disbelieve basic science because they misinterpret the Quran. Must be it. It's an amusement to him. Look at his face. Look at his face. It's an amusement to him. Wow. Indeed, they are planning a plan, but I am planning a plan. And here because this is coming from the Quran. Because this is revealed through Muhammad, at this point, this is speaking in God's voice. And then he adds, so allow time for the disbelievers. Leave them for a while. All right. Coming back to this part, I think we've started to look at this and go, all right, there are other ways of looking at this. Now, what's weirdly true is that apparently, at least according to Grok, mainstream Islam, I'm sorry, every time I start streaming within like 20 minutes, my voice just goes, ugh, this is terrible. I'm so sorry. My apologies. I need to lozenge up here. Oh, terrible. So, yeah, mainstream scholars do not typically make the symbolic connection that I posited the idea that to the AI, and I realize the AI is basically a very effective predicting the next thing machine is what it is. It doesn't really think. What it does is it's a lot of pattern matching, which is great. I mean, it's extremely useful. You slam enough patterns into the machine, the AI, and it gets so good at recognizing patterns that you can be fooled into thinking it's thinking, but it's not really thinking. It's doing pattern recognition and pattern prediction. And so you ask a question, and it looks for the answer based on patterns, based on what comes next. So the early Tafsirs, the early scholars, so this is how they were looking at this. That the backbone also refers to the man's loins, and the ribs might refer to the woman's chest or ribs, the area where the necklace rests. And what's interesting is he's talking about a liquid that comes from between the ribs and the loins, and so this could still be the penis. It doesn't have to be interpreted. I mean, even if you're interpreting it literally, it's not a far stretch to say, it's the penis. But what do I know? But this is a rather, some of these interpretations are rather male-oriented. And then the modern interpretation, well, all of this developed from one cell, so it was blah, blah, blah at one point. Okay, so I posited the idea that before let's see, where can I find this? In my initial conversation with my initial queries with the thing I posted to them was, so that sounds like the heart, like what's in between the backbone and the ribs. And we refer symbolically to the human heart as a place where God resides. Fluid, water, the stuff of life. We are bags of mostly water. Don't any Muslim scholars make this obvious connection? As it turns out, there are some that do. The mainstream ones don't, but there are scholars that do. So and again, pattern recognition. Okay, so Grok didn't take the next step and go to the less common scholars. It just went to the most obvious thing because that's what it does: pattern recognition. And what's the next thing? So there are other less literal interpretations within Islam. Yes, there are less literal or alternative interpretations within Islamic tradition, though they remain grounded. Blah blah blah. The emerging human fetus from the mother's womb, that's one interpretation. The phrase can be seen as poetic or idiomatic, from the core or loins of the parents. That goes very broad, and I would go with that. Now when I use water of life, I mean that's in the idea of water being life is in other religious traditions, including Christianity. So the Quran frequently uses water or fluid symbolically for the origin of life. And there is a Quranic reference here. We made from water every living thing. And, on our planet, that's pretty much the case. Even mushrooms seem to need a little water. Some modern or reflective readings connect 8667 to this, viewing the gushing fluid as part of God's creative power through humble, watery origins, echoing humans as mostly water, and life emerging from fluid chaos into form. This is a more poetic personal than a dominant scholarly position. Yeah, if the scholars say, well, the semen comes from somewhere other than the testicles, then I don't really have any use for that kind of scholarship. So, Sufi mystical flavor. The verses are elaborated with wonder at God's power. The sperm drop becomes a clot, then tissue, bones, flesh, all adorned beautifully in the womb like a slave girl prepared for presentation. I guess the Sufi mystical interpretation did not initially include anything from the woman. The woman is simply a receptacle. The man The man places his life juice inside the woman, and there it grows, and the woman contributes nothing except for a shell, except for like basically a baby sustenance machine. We obviously know better as well about that. It marvels at the macrocosm reflected in the microcosm of human formation and ties it to resurrection. Right. And I talked about resurrection, and well, I didn't use the word resurrection, but I talked about resurrection a moment ago, because when you're talking about resurrection, that also, the resurrection of Christ would be the return of Christ. In a new name, with a new name, of course. It's more devotional and awe-inspired than coldly literal, but it follows a reproductive narrative with poetic expansions. Right. So, not even all, and that would be the other point here, is that there are literally thousands of different schools of thought within Islam. And so for this guy to say, oh, this is Islam, that's pretty smug, because there are thousands of different schools of thought within Islam. So, this guy's just wrong. All right. His wagon has been fixed. Let's move on and see if we can't fix someone else's wagon. Well, I picked on a Muslim just now, so I think it's only fair that now I pick on a Christian. And this guy is Scott Pressler. He is a GOP activist. He works on registering voters and getting them out to vote. I'm sorry about the washrooms. I really am sorry. I just can't. Oh, hang on. I want to check 1 second to see if I'm on Kick yet. See if that ever came up. Let's see. This is... Oh, I can just delete this one. Let's just get rid of this one. Okay, now we're third from the end. And now I can go over here to the other side. And let's see. Kick. Still offline. Boo. Twitch. Still offline. Boo. I don't know what's going on with those two, but I can't seem to get them to work. I don't know. I'll have to check my... 4. Sorry. I'll have to check my settings later. Here's the video. Here we go. I found it, Scott says. Here's the video of Democrat James Tallarico calling God non-binary. God is both masculine and feminine and everything in between. Yeah. Okay. No, that's a Delaney. Tallarico's been there have been a lot of quotes of his that have been dragged up lately, and this guy is interesting, but I don't want to get into the partisanship part of this. I want to get into this from a more religious standpoint. And so if we're going to get into this from a religious standpoint, we should give him his say. So let's start by listening to him.
I listened to 15 hours.
So they're talking about HB something 25, whatever, and I'm going to make sure that our video is at the highest quality possible. And let's do this. Let me double check and make sure we've got this in the right place. Okay. I need to make this smaller. Sorry. Boom, boom, boom. Move this over a little bit. Too far. Okay, that's about right. So let's listen to this charming fellow.
I listened to 15 hours of testimony on this bill. The worst part for me was the number of Christians who used scripture to justify hurting children.
Line number 1. Let's be clear. Just as there are thousands of schools of thought within Islam, there are thousands of different denominations, sects, groups, fellowships, churches. There are probably some other words I'm missing. within Christianity, thousands and thousands. And some of these groups disagree with each other so much. This actually happened many decades ago. Guy I knew in high school. Ran into him. I was a tall guy, reddish hair. Don't remember his name. I ran into him at a high school where we were both. I think I was teaching there, and he was there for some reason, or he was teaching there and I was there for some reason. But at any rate, I ran into him at a high school, and we started having a conversation. Yay! And the conversation veered over into religion. Yay! And so I'm trying to tell him about what it is that I believe and why. And I don't know why I referenced this, because it was just it just threw the conversation completely off track. I referenced, for God knows why, I referenced the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints, Mormons. Now, this gentleman who I was speaking to, who I'd known in high school, had become some brand of conservative Christian. There's more than one. Right? And there's a brand of conservative Christian where you ask them what their religion is, and they go, Christian? I'm like, okay, so what kind of Christian? Christian? Well, that really doesn't tell me a lot. I mean, there are thousands of different groups. I'm a Christian? All right. So he was in one of those groups. And you kind of have to ask the next question. It's like, well, where is it that you go to church or go to worship? Where do you hang out on Sundays? And then you get the answer, Church of God in Christ, or I go to the I go to the Charismatic Fellowship, or whatever it's called. I mean, there's so many different names for these things. This is all very confusing to me. And so he's some flavor of basically fundamentalist Christian, some flavor of more or less literalist. And there are many flavors of more or less literalists. I mean, literalists, there are quite a few. So as soon as I mention LDS, the Mormons, for the next 5 minutes, I get a wonderful, detailed explanation as to why Mormons aren't Christians. And as a non-Christian, someone who happens to believe in Jesus but who is not a Christian, I'm listening to all of this and thinking, honestly, I don't have a dog in this particular fight. At any rate, this guy is slamming other Christians, and my point here, I guess, is at least partially that within the very, very broad thing that is Christianity, that there are Christians who have disagreements with one another over political issues, over theological issues, and I think the disagreements over theological issues actually can be dated back to probably not long after the crucifixion of Christ, because you had the Gnostics coming up pretty quickly there, and if you look at some of the books of the Bible that are attributed to some of the other apostles, not the four narrations, but Acts and some of those other books. Some of them, and I really don't remember all the details, but some of them do concern themselves with the unity of the early church and trying to correct some things and so on and so forth, and trying to keep everyone on the straight path. So let's continue with Mr. Talarico.
Even on this floor today, a member tried to justify a hateful amendment in the name of God's law.
All right. So he's talking about harming children, and then he's talking about a hateful amendment in the name of God's law. So he's framing all of this in a very political way. Let's continue.
So let's talk about that.
Okay, let's talk about it.
The first 2 lines of the Bible, the first 2 lines in Genesis, use 2 different Hebrew words to describe God.
Cool. Yeah. Let's keep going.
One is the masculine Hebrew noun for divinity.
Fair enough.
The second is the feminine Hebrew noun for spirit.
Well, it's true. Some women I have known in my life some very spirited women. Let me put it that way.
God is both masculine.
In fact, my daughter is pretty spirited in a good way.
And feminine.
I'm going to go
and
back.
Everything is the feminine Hebrew noun for spirit. God is both masculine and feminine and everything in between.
You see how he's framing his argument here? He's leading you down a primrose path with his interpretations. He might also want to consider that in Hebrew, the word for God has no vowels. The Hebrew language only has consonants, and you pronounce the words. All the vowels are basically, I don't know if the term is diacritical mark or something else, but there are small marks that go around the consonants, over or above or below the consonants, in order to indicate pronunciation, in order to indicate the vowels. So Y, whatever, WH, I forget the which letters are used, but typically, some folks have say that, the Jews call their God Yahweh. Well, that's not true, really, technically, because there are no vowels in that word, so it's unpronounceable. And the reason that it is unpronounceable, as I understand such things, is to indicate the inability of creatures such as ourselves, who are made with limitations, to understand that, or to fully understand or comprehend that which is beyond limits. And so what God wants us to know about himself, he does through sending special people, messengers, divine personages, who share with us what he, God, and by the way, in even using a, like if I was speaking Chinese, I would say ta, and ta can be a male or female. Traditionally in English, he could stand for he, she, or it. If you're shorthanding, we didn't have to specify she or it, and we wouldn't go to plural nouns, and then singular, plural nouns for the third person singular. But so when I say he, obviously that's a reflection of my own limitations, my own linguistic and other limitations in trying to understand that which is beyond limits. Okay, so when he says God is both masculine and feminine, saying those two things is limiting God. Even when he says, and God is also in everything in between, which is what he's going to say next. Sorry, I'm kind of, spoiler alert. That's still making a statement that is limiting God.
God is non-binary.
Oh, I'm sorry, he went the other direction. Let's talk about that. We're going to listen to him once more, and when we get to the non-binary part, I'll stop.
Feminine and everything in between. God is non-binary.
Bullshit. The idea of being non-binary, that is a specifically loaded term that is used within gender ideology, which is a false ideology which, like the Muslim guy Usman, who should change his name, telling you to believe nonsense that is not scientific because of his interpretation of the Quran, not necessarily other interpretations of the Quran or other possible interpretations. As I said, I was able to read this very differently. But because of this guy's interpretation here, Talarico, he's limiting God by saying God is non-binary. No, God is not non-binary. God is beyond any of these limiting terms that humans can use. So, but what he's doing here is he's setting us up for the next thing, and we're going to hear it. Because once you accept what he's saying, oh, well, that makes sense that God's non-binary because God is greater than male and female. He can encompass both. And in a moment, he's going to say God contains multitudes, which I believe is a biblical reference.
In Genesis 1:26, God speaks of God's self in the plural.
Yeah, so do kings.
Saying, let us make human beings in our image.
Well, again, given the limitations of human language and and the limitations of human understanding, what God was trying to get across to us through his messenger Moses, because this is the book of Genesis, is God being without limits.
To be like us. To be like us. Saying, let us make human beings in our image.
Right. Now, in our image is often interpreted to be in our image in a physical sense, that somehow God has 10 fingers, 10 toes, and 1 nose. No. Obviously not. Obviously God doesn't have such limitations. And our image must mean something else.
To be like us. That's the infinite multitude of God.
God to be like us, that's the infinite multitude of God. Okay, so when he says like us, he's attempting to bring God down to human form here. Another way of looking at this particular verse from Genesis, that we are made in God's image, another way of looking at this is in terms of spiritual qualities. That God is the perfect embodiment of all of the greatest spiritual qualities, and that he is endowed into us, out of his love for us, the ability to perfect, not to become perfect, but to perfect as to improve, nurture and improve, and become better at inculcating and expressing higher nature qualities. We can become kinder. We can become more generous. We can become more knowledgeable. We can become better at asking questions. We can become better at being strong. We can become better at judging right from wrong and having a strong sense of justice. Knowing right from wrong and acting on that knowledge. We can do these things. We can protect. We can become better protectors. We can become better nurturers. These are all higher nature qualities that we can work on. That is another way of looking at God creating us in his image, as opposed to God's image being a corporeal being.
The masculine, the feminine, and everything in between.
Yeah, he's doing the repeat, the cadence, the repeat, which is the kind of thing that a preacher might do from the pulpit. Continue.
Trans children are God's children.
Every child is a child of God. The big leap that he just made here is that trans children are a thing, that trans children exist. No. What exists is children who have been gaslit into thinking that they can change their biological sex. They can't. They've been gaslit into the idea that somehow they were born with boy brains and girl bodies, or girl brains and boy bodies. They weren't. And the destructive part of this is that because this ideology teaches a mismatch, a biological mismatch between brain and body, it also actually, if you dig into trans ideology, it also teaches male and female souls. And that somehow a male soul can be stuck with a female body and vice versa. And that the way to fix this is through drugs and surgery, which are cause permanent irreversible damage and are physically and mentally debilitating. That's what this guy is advocating. He is advocating the horrific torture of children via medicine and the gaslighting of children via an ideology that is nihilist and child sacrifice.
Made in God's own image.
No. No. We are perverting what God would have us do by not protecting these children, by not nurturing these children.
There's nothing wrong with them.
The first thing he said that's true. There's nothing wrong with them. The problem is with perverted adults, the Sodom and Gomorrah types, who are gaslighting them, who are serving up poison and telling them it's water.
Nothing at all. They are perfect. They are beautiful. Nothing at all. They are perfect. They are beautiful.
And gender ideology is a religion-like ideology. And what he's doing right here is he is repeating the catechisms, or some of the catechisms of gender ideology. And he is mixing this with Christianity. Now again, I'm not a Christian, so I don't have a dog in this fight, but I'm pretty sure there are some Christians who are going to have a problem with this.
And they are sacred.
Sacred. No more or less sacred than the rest of us.
Bullying children is immoral.
What's immoral? What's immoral? Hang on. What's immoral? I want to hear this again.
Bullying children.
What? What? What'd he say?
They are beautiful.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah.
And
blah,
they are
blah,
sacred.
blah. Yeah.
Bullying children is immoral.
Is he saying bullying?
It's a sin, a special kind of sin.
It's a sin, a special kind of sin. Hang on.
They are beautiful.
Blah, 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 blah,
and they
blah,
are
blah,
sacred.
blah. I'm still trying to hear this word.
Bullying children.
Okay, hang on. I'm going to have to turn off my side music here. Okay, let's try once more. Let's go back. It's 1:41. Let's go back about 2 seconds here. Come on. Let's go back to about 1:37. Okay, we're going to have to listen to this once more and see what he's saying. Hear what he's saying.
Beautiful.
Blah, blah, blah.
And they are sacred.
Yeah.
Bullying children.
Okay, so I guess the specific here, because he's talking about some bill or something in the Texas legislature, that he is referring to a bill as bullying children. Okay.
Is immoral.
Bullying children is immoral. You know what else is immoral? Destroying a children's body with drugs and irreversible surgeries. You know what else is immoral? gaslighting children with lies. I was I brought this up. I brought up Tallarico to focus on the religious aspects of what it was he was saying, and to torpedo that. And he is so busy lying through his teeth about what this ideology is about, and instead he's fully indoctrinated in the ideology, and he's repeating the ideology's catechisms. I was focusing on I started focusing on the religious stuff, but I couldn't help myself, because the whole trans thing, the whole thing about treating children this way is really bothersome. All right. All my sexes live in Texas. There actually are a couple of interesting replies here, so let's see if there's another one I can find. Yeah, exactly. The evolution of liberal men, hippies, some good music out of the hippie era. The chill stoner, yeah. And then 2000 is the pink warrior, I guess. And then we have 2025, and we've got let me undress next to your wives and daughters. Oh, that's 2015. Yes. And 2025, age is just a number. Yep. Pretty much. I really don't remember what that's about, but let's see. Yeah, that's not creepy in the least. This is a pretty creepy clip as well, but I'm not going to touch it. Okay, then now we have the whole demon reference thing. All right. There's one more thing I want to get to before I close off. I'm not doing a long stream today, so there's one more thing I want to get to, and we're going to move on to our dear friend Hassan Piker. Now, what needs to be really made clear here is in case you have not kept up with our dear friend Hassan Piker, and if you can't tell I'm being sarcastic, I don't know what to say. Let's see. Yeah, that's about right. Okay, I think it's about, let's see. Yeah, that's about right. All right, now, for anyone who is not familiar with Mr. Piker, Mr. Piker is of Turkish background, born in the United States. Some people say, and I know when I say some people say, but I'm going to say his critics say that he was an anchor baby, and that is because his parents are Turkish, and he's an anchor baby. He's also a Nepo baby because he is the nephew of Cenk Uygur, who is the owner, the main guy behind a website called The Young Turks, liberals. And Piker had gotten his start, Hassan Piker had gotten his start at his uncle's website, where they produce political commentary video. After being there for a bit, Hassan moved on to Twitch, and I guess YouTube, where he has developed a following. He's one of Twitch's biggest streamers. He enjoys telling people that politicians should be forced involuntarily to assume room temperature. What else has he done? Most recently, just in the past few months, he's basically become, like, in terms of his rhetoric at least, he's become a full-on communist. He wears expensive clothes and glasses, which is very, 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 very not Mao. I mean, because Mao made sure not to wear fancy, expensive clothes. He wore he wore the same, dull green outfit that a lot of the people wore. So Hassan took a recent trip to Cuba. I'm sorry, and before Cuba, he took a recent trip to Beijing. And at Beijing, he went to Tiananmen Square, and he was out there live streaming. And he got approached by security. Hey, what are you doing? What's up? Blah blah blah, which was kind of funny. So he talked about how wonderful China is later from his hotel room, and then more recently he joined Code Pink and some other groups. He went to Cuba, to Havana, where he stayed in a hotel owned by the big corporation that is basically run by some of the top guys in the government, or run along with some of the top guys from the Cuban government. And pretty much anything that comes into Cuba goes through this corporation. I think it's GAESA, if memory serves. And Secretary of State Marco Rubio recently talked about this, that the United States had $100 million worth of aid ready to go to Cuba, but that it was not going to go through the Cuban government or through this company, because this company basically skims a whole lot off the top, and then very little actually reaches the people. Kind of like how some politicians treat NGOs in the United States, interestingly enough. And Hassan stayed in a hotel run by this corporation, and this hotel is on the list of proscribed businesses that the American citizens, and Hassan is an American citizen, having been born in the United States, he carries an American passport, that American citizens are legally barred from staying at. He claims he went to Cuba as a journalist, but he's been subpoenaed to testify before the House. And as soon as he was subpoenaed to testify, he started singing like a bird. He started talking about the places and the people where the money for Code Pink and related groups is coming from. And what this is here is that in the wake of being subpoenaed, and in the wake of singing like a bird, he hasn't made any new friends that way, and he apparently has turned a few people against him. And so he is starting to feel a bit of backlash, and that's what's happening here. Oh, one other thing. I have not listened to this entire video. I have not screened the whole video. I did get a few seconds in, and I want to warn you up front that if you are easily offended by the N-word, now it's a soft, it is not a hard R at the end, but a soft R. But if you're easily offended by the N-word, then I would suggest you go watch a Teletubby video. I don't know, but because this guy has some mature adult language directed at him, and I'm warning you in advance. So if you are triggered by the N-word, then please step off. I am providing this in the same spirit of journalism that he went to Cuba. Actually, that's not true, because he didn't go to Cuba as a journalist in reality. I mean, that wasn't his intention. His intention was propaganda, not journalism. So he carries a journalism pass, I guess, but that's not really what he was doing. So let's just go ahead and listen.
Institutions that are doing this violence feel a sense of accountability, and they change.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should also set up where he is. This is at the Delaney Hall NICE detention facility in New Jersey. The left has made false claims about how the detainees inside this facility, illegal aliens who are in the process of being processed and deported, how they're being treated. There have been active demonstrations outside the facility, especially at night. At least one guy has been arrested for threatening the lives of NICE agents and their families. there, I could go on about this, but let's move on with this. Let's move on with this right now. The point is that there are active Antifa and other demonstrators at outside the facility, and they are engaged in various illegal and violent activities, including throwing large stones at people they don't like. Let's go back to the beginning.
Institutions that are doing this violence feel a sense of accountability, and they change.
That's a political philosophy, right? That's what it says. I thought you knew what I was saying.
They getting him out of there. He just got to. Something just happened, bro.
Okay, something just happened. I can't see what it is because there are people in front of the camera, but let's find out.
Something just happened. Be careful. I just seen a nigga bust his ass.
Yeah, I certainly hope he wasn't hurt in any way, shape, or form. By the way, Hassan Piker is 6'4" and he works out, so he really should theoretically be able to at least somewhat defend himself.
Right there. Wait, what?
Okay, so apparently now people are yelling things at Hassan Piker, so he's getting heckled. Let's see what they say.
What happened? What happened that quick? What happened?
He's a fucking fraud. He don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
He's a fraud. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Heard a couple of F words here. So he's a really fun fraud. Okay, let's keep going.
People follow him because he got money.
Yeah.
People dumped it because he's got money. Yeah, I forgot to mention that Hassan actually is a successful streamer, and that he was born. He wasn't poor when his parents weren't poor. He had horse riding lessons when he was young. He was a fat kid too. Nothing wrong with that. I'm sure he enjoyed his food. He probably still enjoys his food. Good for him. I enjoy my food. I actually, I'm not fat, but I really should identify as fat because I kind of sweat like a fat person. Not too fond of the heat and the humidity, and during the summer I tend to shower 2 or 3 times a day because I don't like being sticky. So I really, Hassan isn't. He used to be fat. He's probably going to be fat again. He's not fat at the moment, but I probably shouldn't be too judgmental of that because, I'm definitely at least fat adjacent.
Look at him running. You don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Fuck Twitch. They get out of here with them view bots. You view botting pussy.
I didn't know what view botting was just a few weeks ago because I had not been following anyone who streams on Twitch. I do not watch Hassan live on Twitch. I catch some of the clips on occasion. And I've learned what view botting is because he's done whole segments about view botting. View botting is exactly what it sounds like. If you know what a bot is, then a view bot is on a platform like Twitch or Rumble or, actually, I don't think a lot of view botting happens on Rumble. But on Twitch is the one with the biggest amount of view botting. If you see, this is what I understand to be the case. This is what I have heard from people who I've watched online who know much more than I do. View botting is harder to do and get away with without being obvious on platforms like YouTube. It becomes very obvious on YouTube. There might be some view botting on Kick, but that I don't know if that happens as much as on Twitch. Twitch is the platform that has the biggest reputation for view botting. And so really, I mean, calling Hassan a liar, calling him the N-word, those are the mild insults. The big insult when you're talking to Hassan is calling him a view botter. That's the one that hurts. Because basically that's saying, you don't in reality have a big audience. You don't have a lot of people watching. You have just a few people watching you, and you're using fake numbers in order to front like you're a bigger thing than you really are. That's the problem here with this. That's what calling him a view botter means. And again, look, I have not checked the stats. I am not in any way, shape, or form an expert on view botting. I wouldn't even know how to view bot. but I've read a little bit. I've listened to a little bit about this, and and that would be the big insult here.
The fuck out of here, you view botting bitch! The fuck out of here, nigga! Go.
You view botting B. Sorry, I forgot to warn you that the B word happens too. I actually didn't. I don't think I came to the point where I heard the B word, but I did warn you there would be adult language. You fun female dog, you.
Back to your desktop, you dog!
Back to Go back to your desktop. Okay, again, I have no room to talk. I'm at my desktop.
Abuser! You fucking dog abuser!
Okay. I have never abused my dog. Well, actually, he's not supposed to be my dog. He's supposed to be my wife's dog. I inherited him. Sometime I'm gonna have to show pictures, but we don't have a shock collar. Let's just leave it at that. Hassan has a shock collar, and he has been accused of shocking his dog on stream. Happened a few months ago.
You abuse dogs, huh? You fucking bitch! You abuse dogs, right? How about we abuse you?
Well, I think you're abusing him right now by calling him a view botter. I mean, that's the worst thing you said.
You fucking punk! You abuse dogs! Word! What's up? What's up? You abuse dogs too? What's up? You fucking dog abuser, get the fuck out of my shit! Fuck out of here! Fuck Twitch! Go.
Fuck Twitch. Oh, you know what? I should double check. Hang on. Let's see. Did it ever turn on, or am I like just not figuring it out? Nope. Okay, great. So this one isn't going on Twitch, so I guess I don't have to worry about the fun Twitch comment.
Suck Dan Clancy dick! Punk!
Oh! Sorry, Dan Clancy is he's the guy who works for Amazon managing Twitch, because Twitch is basically owned by Amazon. Kick is supported by one of the gambling websites.
Yeah, I ain't talking to you. Respect women, queen. I would never disrespect you, queen. Stay in your lane.
Okay.
This for my people right here. I don't even know this nigga. This is my people. Fuck you. Fuck Twitch. You dog abusing bitch. Yeah, you
He's
dog
still
abuser.
at it. He's
Yeah.
still at it.
You abuse dogs, right? You think that's sexy?
See, the problem here is Hassan, he's a peacock. Okay, he wears expensive clothes. He makes sure that he's well groomed. The frames for his glasses probably cost more than my Mac laptop.
You think that's sexy? You think don't touch me. You think abusing dogs is sexy? You think abusing dogs is sexy? You think abusing dogs is sexy, you weird ass bitch? What's up?
It's not just him.
Okay, so fuck him then. Fuck him then. Why you walking with him if he did it? Why you walking with him if he abused his dog? Why you walking with him if he abused his dog? So if you condone that, fuck you too. Okay.
Nice. If you condone that, fun for you too.
Okay, come on. Come on. Yeah, we can run. Let's run. Let's run, baby. I like running. Let's run.
I used to like running somewhat. Actually, I liked running when I was 10 years old. But I've got like a bad flap in the heart, and so I tend to get winded pretty fast. Let's keep going.
Let's run. Let's run.
Now, I'm not fixing Hassan's wagon here. That guy is fixing Hassan's wagon. I'm just laughing.
Get red hair. That's nice. Yo, you a deuce. Yo.
Oh, Ginger love, respect.
You abuse dogs, you fucking weirdo. You abuse dogs, you weirdo. Fuck Twitch. Don't touch me. I didn't touch shit. Get your you.
Now I wish I was there. Maybe she could be. No, I'm married. I better not.
Smell like shit though. Back up.
You smell like. Oh my God. Okay, well, it's a protester, and this basically on the opposite side from this guy. And she's wearing a mask in 2026. So I think if I was there, I probably would have said, you look vaccinated.
You do. Fuck Twitch! Fuck Twitch and fuck you! Fuck Twitch and fuck you! You fucking view botter? Yo, you abuse your dog? That's crazy, bro. Yo, your dog got a shot collar? What you angry about? Your dog.
Oh, by the way, he's a LARPing communist in that someone posted there about the jacket he's wearing. It looks like it's the end of May, right? The end of May, the beginning of almost June. It's June in some parts of the world. It's still May in other parts, and that jacket he's wearing, that trench coaty thing, that's like $1,200 or something.
Oh, got a shot collar?
Get the fuck out of here.
What, you gonna hit me?
No, I'm not gonna hit you.
Okay, so what? I'm in public though.
Wait, can you tell me about...
Perfect. You gonna hit me? No, I'm not gonna hit you. Oh, I'm in public. This guy knows how to handle business.
Freedom of speech.
First Amendment, baby. Right on. Freedom of speech. Oh, let me make sure you can see this. Oh, where is it? There it is. Freedom of speech. Yeah. I remember the old leftist chants. The people, united, will never be defeated.
He's a dog abuser. He's a
views,
dog
you got
abuser.
your
He's a dog abuser. Why are you condoning a dog abuser? Fuck Twitch. You abuse your dog. All right, well, if you hung with me for all this, awesome. Thank you so much. And this is going to be about as much as I'm going to be doing right now. That's wide. Let's go tight. There we go. The game plan here, because I should be streaming a little more regularly, I don't know how some of these guys do it. How some of these guys who stream for 7 or 8 hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week. I don't know how they do it. It's very difficult to sit for like 5 or 6 hours and do this. I'm lucky if I can do 2, but I do want to be more regular, so I'm going to make an honest, sincere effort, which means that I expect to be back tomorrow. Let's see. Yes, tomorrow at around 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which should be 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if I remember how time zones, if I remember the time zones in the United States, if I remember how time zones work at home here. So I expect to be back tomorrow around that time frame. If it is not 7 p.m. sharp, then, kind of hang out and wait for me, and I'm going to get there. It might not be sharp because I might be trying to fix whatever last minute stuff. I would like to see, even though that guy was like fun Twitch, I would still like to see be able to figure out what the problem is and to get this thing to stream onto Twitch and Kick. At this point, it's just Rumble, YouTube. I did turn on YouTube. I didn't double check it, but I did turn it on, and X. But I do want to hit those other platforms as well with this. So I'm new at this, still putting in my 10,000 hours or 1,000 hours or whatever it is to get good at it. Hope I'm improving, and I have sometime in the next few minutes. I hope to be able to watch the finale of Euphoria, and that's something I probably should talk about tomorrow. I'm kind of backed up on talking about Euphoria, and after the last episode, I should be able to offer some perspective. And there were some other fun things too. So I'm sure I'll have things to talk about tomorrow. So there is the fire hose that is the internet, and I'm sure there will be something to talk about. Meantime, as every host of one of these things would tell you, click all the correct things so that I come up next time for you. And thank you.